Hello and welcome to my channel. I am Zodiac Bandit, and today we're going to be recapping episode 100 of Campaign 3 of Critical Role, or Downfall Part 2. There are two things I want to say before we get started, which is, one, I might screw some names up. There are some complicated names, and when I see it on how I've typed it versus how it's actually said, sometimes there's a miscommunication, so sorry if I get one wrong. Second, sorry if these, Downfall episodes or recaps are like 50 minutes long, because there's a lot that goes on within these episodes, and I want to make sure I get the most info so we understand what is going on. So if they are really long, my bad. I can't really do anything about it with the way that I've structured these videos. So sorry if it's 50 minutes long. But anyway, let's get started. We start in the floating city of Aor. 3 groups have been made, and they are all about to set out on their missions to stop Aor from using their god-killing weapon. In the Chamber of Seasons, these groups prepare to leave. The 4 betrayer guards smile and start to head out of the temple. Asha and the emissary team up with Tashar and Zarhust. They're going to be the ones going into the Genesis War to destroy the Obtenebrator engine, which blocks the city from seeing the Divine, or blocks the city from the sight of the Divine. Salaha and Amira are teaming up with Umleta to learn where the points of the Aravox protocol are set up around the city, which would, be the things that set out the designs of the weapon, the god-killing weapon, all over the world if something goes wrong. And Trist and Aiden are going with Father Milo and Arcadia to find a way into the Genesis Ward, so that is where the greatest secrets of AR are being held, and they're trying to get inside there. Some of the party look at the chamber walls and see that the images of the gods have now been repaired. Salaha rolls an insight of 30, and he sees Umleta tuck her silk rope away and thinks that that is like a thread, like a web. Umleta says that Salaha is beautiful, and she doesn't get the same response back from him. Umleta wonders how much they can sell his parts for once this is all done, because he won't need this form anymore afterwards. He looks her over and isn't happy with her being here before the rest of them got here, and is wondering how long she was here. He asks her, and she said that she only just got here off the ship. But Salaha doesn't want lies and asks for how long she's been here, and it says they need to tell the truth if they're going to work together. Umleta says if Salaha is who she thinks he is, she doesn't trust him, that he might use that information against her at some point. She thinks a part of the reason they're all here is partly because of him, and she tells him to take responsibility for this mess. She walks away, a little pissed off about how much she just shared with him. The emissary rolls a religion check on the mural he's looking at. He's trying to see the face of the lawbearer in the painting. He and he alone sees the face of the lawbearer shift and look at him. She asks if she is cross with her. The emissary says she made her sad. The lawbearer says that it's an outcome of a necessary action, but the emissary must tell her that she loves her. The emissary simply says double, triple infinity, ? As in, that's how much she loves the Wild Mother. The lawbearer laughs and says that she would do anything for her, but or anything that she can for her within her power. She has made the emissary because the lines that were parallel at one point have now converged, and she can't be advanced beyond that point. She says that she loves this world and the people in it, and in this case that means honoring the agreements they made. She wants her children to know she is reliable. She feels the gods are hurting this place, and she came to an intersection, and she's made a promise that she'd be here, but one promise would be broken to fulfill another one. The emissary says that he'll keep her promise, and he will be worthy of it. A light touches the emissary, and something inside of him begins to rumble. She says when the time for justice comes, they will not thank you for half measures. The will of the gods is law and final, and a pulse goes through the emissary. They will not love this, but they will know that it's true, and it is their path. The emissary sees the painting is now still again. Asha walks behind him and says to stop it, and then walks away. Tashar says that he is not her, but a puppet. She remembers Vasselheim, and she won't let her left arm drop again. Aiden rolled a perception check of 29 in this room. He sees Milo and Arcadia are talking. He says that there are many high-level people in Aor who have many people below them that they could potentially use to sort of sneak around. While he's listening, Aiden sees a piece of cloth around some sort of object underneath a bench. It looks like it's been placed there rather recently. Aiden sits on the bench and then begins to pray, to the entire family of gods. Everyone feels the feeling of being acknowledged. Trist looks over and sees glowing underneath Aiden, and she can hear some words. As Aiden is praying, Trist feels power fueling her, and she feels someone had prayed to her within this place within the last week. She hears someone asking to make sure that their son is alright, even though the gods have been gone for some time. She says that she can bend magic to help her son in however she can, and asks her to look after him once he's gone. Trist can see an image of her praying, and it enters her body, and she feels powerful but also tight at the same time. As this power has entered her body, this body that cannot hold this type of power. She sees the woman stand, and she is an Archmage of Aor. She wraps around that cloth around what looks to be like an old book and places it underneath the bench. Trist tells the others that there are believers here, and Amira asks if she can use it. Trist then grabs the book, and it's an ancient book filled with old prayers and songs of the gods. This book is old, and it makes no reference to the Age of Arcanum or the Calamity. It was written after the betrayer gods were sealed away, when the prime deities had the most belief in them. Trist can feel some form of magic from the woman on this book. Amira asks if there is anyone that can track the woman and find out where she went. The group aren't totally sure. Trist goes up to Umletta and asks if she can follow a thread from the book. Umletta asks if this is part of the plan or some sort of favor. Trist says yes. Umletta laughs and then takes a golden thread of light from her teeth. She opens the book without damaging it. Even she wouldn't damage it with all the prayer inside. She then lights up a specific prayer for the ill. Umletta touches it, and the thread moves past and outside the door. There are tear stains on this page. This prayer has been read the most. Trist hears the name of Halis, a name of a young boy. They can see him. He is bedridden and sickly. Amira looks to see how much time he has left, and she can see that he doesn't have too much time left. He won't see adulthood, but she can also feel that his life doesn't really touch hers, but in fact one of her brethren. She sends her raven to follow the thread and sees that it leads to a hospital close by. Amira tells Trist that he is close, and Trist thanks Umletta for this information, because Umletta got it for them. The groups then begin to head out. Milo and Arcadia look to Trist and Aiden. Arcadia says they need to find a way for the 11 people to get to the heart of Aor without being seen. Milo says there are lower-ranking members of the guilds they can take the place of if need be. Arcadia then pipes up and says it seems that they might have found another way, though, with the young boy. Trist says a woman prayed here. Milo asks what that has to do with anything. Trist says that the woman here is of faith, of her faith specifically, and that seems to give them power. Milo says, without faith they are nothing, and hopes their way is lit. One thing to remember before they all head out is that Aiden put up a telepathic bond between the group, and they can selectively talk to certain people within the bond. The groups all split up towards their respective missions. It is close to midnight at this point, or past it. The first group we start off with is Asha, the Emissary, Zarhust, and Tishar. Arcadia makes them invisible when they step on the tram, because that would be a very suspect group. The Emissary sees Tishar look at Zarhust and sees that there is a bit of hatred between the two of them. It seems that the betrayer gods hate each other just as much as they hate the prime deities. Asha goes over to the Emissary and sits next to him. Asha says that she made a gift for her and wants to show her, or was going to show her. She made a forest with rules, and that she thought the rules were really good. Asha says time moves slowly here, and asks if she can hear her. The Emissary says the one she speaks can't be here, but she would if she could. Asha says that she was going to be her reward at the end of all of this, and asks if she can tell a little lie, and the Emissary says little lies are okay. The Emissary says that she loves her before Asha can say anything else. Asha says that she knows that. She says that they need her, it's all breaking down, and the others don't understand. Why do the ones that break understand, and why do the ones who don't lose their love? She's the only one who understands. They're meant to be fixing things here. The Emissary says that Asha made a forest for her, and then holds up a seed and shows it to Asha, and says this is a forest for Asha. The emissary looks into the eyes of Asha, the eyes of the Wild Mother. He knows that she shaped the world away from chaos, and she made a world of nature. He then sees the city of Aor and the landscape around them on the tram, and sees a place that has forgotten nature and the gifts that she gave them. She sees the pain in the eyes of one of the most resilient gods. Asha says that she's tired and hungry, but she knows Asha has always been hungry. Everything is. We then go to the Ars district, in a glass-blowing factory. Salaha, Amira, and Umleta are walking through this empty factory that was, for some reason, left unlocked. At the back of the factory is a massive circular locked door, like a vault door. The door opens its eyes as they approach, and it says it's an honor to be receiving Salaha. Salaha says that it's his honor, in fact, and the door says that it's an honor to host the Chosen One. The door opens up for them, and they see a marble staircase heading down. At the bottom of it, they see a marble bar, and there's red velvet cushions everywhere. It seems to be an Aoriton bar. There's an Aoriton that has a chess piece that looks like a tuxedo. He says that he is the master of ceremonies named Chorus. He says that he's pleased to welcome your proprietor, the Chosen One. And the crowd goes wild, and the image of Salaha's face goes all over the place in this little bar. It seems to be like a little underground speakeasy, if you will. Salaha's eyes all change from orange to green, and he becomes gold. He then throws his arms up in the air, and the Aortons cheer again. The party, it seems to be mostly made up of Aortons. There are some humans here, some dancing with Aortons, and there are some demons here who are taking off their cuffs and handing it to other people. Cora says, "Welcome to the Aris Elysia. The drinks are cold and the band is hot." An Aorton walks up to Umleta and asks for her weapons, and she begrudgingly hands them over. The group walks down into the hidden bar, and Salaha goes to a private area. Amira says that she's been on Alexandria for 30 years and never found a place like this. Amira asks what they're doing here specifically, and Umleta says that Salaha is a clown and then goes off on her own. Salaha asks if this place is really that bad, and Amira says this place is nice, but above them it isn't, and they have a weapon that is the end. Salaha says there's beauty in the end. He's tired and just wants to enjoy this, and it is partly his fault they are here, and that hurts him, but he finds a part of it all beautiful, knowing that it could come to an end. So is it really all that bad? Amir says if he wants an end, he can have it, but not all of them want to. She just got here and she wants to experience the infinite. He says that's all their problem is. Amira says just because he wants an end doesn't mean that everyone else wants one. He says that's fine, but just know that they'll be destroying this place, and he points around to the bar. Amir says this location, but it can be built elsewhere. They hear the crowd go nuts as an Aoriton proposes to another. Chorus yells beautiful here in the Ars Elysia, and they all start dancing. Salaha says they better get to work. They can't really trust that halfling to do anything. He then rolls an insight check of 15. Salaha wonders if Aor is the price to pay. He sees the lovers dancing and wonders if they will be in wherever his new bar is built. He then says they'll talk to Forax, the bartender. He thanks Amira for listening to him, as he enjoys hearing himself talk, and he understands her points. He then goes over to the bar. There they see an Aoriton with 8 arms making drinks, and he also has 4 eyes so he can see in all directions. He says he wasn't expecting to see the boss tonight. Salaha says that he's here for information, and he asks if he's heard of any Celestials being around. Forax says there's a person at the end of the bar drinking milk and honey, which is apparently some sort of joke. He then points to a cloaked figure near the restroom at the end of the bar, which is funny because most people here don't need to use a restroom, except for humans and apparently demons. The person is drinking water at the end of the bar, and their skin seems to be a teal-colored, completely muscle. He's been coming around a lot lately, and he came earlier with a much larger person, standing around 7 feet tall. He then asks Amira if she wants a drink, and she says sure. She then hears within her robes, I wouldn't mind a drink either, and she looks down into the glass case that she stole from the guard, and the imp is looking up at her, saying that he wouldn't mind one either. And he didn't mean to eavesdrop earlier in the chamber, but he thinks that it's crazy and thinks they're all gods. He says that he won't tell, he promises. His name is Slitch. She tells him to get out of there. She doesn't want to talk to her boobs. He says that he doesn't mind, but gets out anyway. He says that he's bound to the might of Aor, but wouldn't mind betraying them. He wonders if she is the goddess of death based on the way she's been talking, and says this is a big opportunity for him. She can feel that he is bound to the glass jar around her neck, so unless it breaks, she probably has control over him. He says that he was bound to a former tram cop and is now bound to her, and thinks that his luck is looking up. He says he'll let Salaha says that he'll let her deal with this, and then he starts making his way over to the end of the bar. Forax asks if Slitch wants anything, and Slitch says that he wants about 20 bottles of booze, but Amira pops up and says he can have one. Slitch yells yay. He says he'll help however he can. He's been working with law enforcement for some time. He might know some things. He asks if he worships her, will he live forever? She lies and says yes, he'll live forever, and this gets Slitch very excited. He asks what he can do for her, and she simply says to go back in the jar for now, and he does. She then goes over to join Salaha, but casts invisibility on herself. Salaha sees a few demons looking at the guy at the end of the bar. Salaha can feel Amira nearby, and Salaha goes over to the person with the cloak on. He asks what he's drinking, and the cloaked figure asks if he can help him without looking up at him. Salaha asks what he wants to drink again, and the figure says that he simply wants solitude for now. Salaha asks for his name, and the figure says that he's got to leave. Salaha casts command on him to halt, and the figure stands and freezes. Salaha sees the figure is a planetar. He sees the cloak is not hiding a hunchback or anything, but in fact his wings. Salaha says that he's heard he's been a bad angel, and the angel has a look of recognition on his face. Salaha and Amira need to roll initiative in this moment. A 15 from Salaha and an 8 from Amira, which still beats the planetar's roll. Salaha is up. The cloak bursts off the angel and shows off his wings. He looks like he's going to try to fly out of the bar, but there is only one exit, so there's only one way for him to go. Salaha casts Hold Monster, however, the angel saves. Amira is up, and she uses her boost of haste and casts Shadow Blade. She then swings for the angel, dealing 12 damage. Golden blood sprays across the bar. The angel is up and he begins to run. Both Salaha and Amira have Warcaster, so they can make opportunity attacks with spells. Salaha, who has been worshipped here, bends reality and turns the door into a sort of bird cage and grabs a hold of the angel. Amira sees a vision of the arch heart beating way off in the distance. And suddenly, the cage vanishes. Chorus says that, sorry to everyone, let's get back to it, and the party starts up again just that quickly. The door says that he was a mouthful, and Salaha says that he will be joining him down there soon. Amira looks for Umletta. She rolls a perception check of 8 and can't find her anywhere. She does see that the demons who were once ready to mess up this angel and are now terrified in this moment of this, basically a god standing before them. Salaha asks if they should join him, and that is when we go back down to the Opus ward. Trist, Aiden, Milo, and Arcadia are walking through this poorer section of Aor. They eventually reach a hospital. They do see some elderly people walking about, and it's very clear that the art of healing is somewhat lost here in Aor. The hour is very late and it's very dark. The gate here is locked, and the group walk up to the gate. Trist sees that it's locked, and Milo asks if she needs someone to do something dishonest. He then grabs the lock and prays to the Dawn Father, and red light comes from his hands, and the lock melts away. Very Dawn Father-like. They walk inside the hospital, and Arcadia knocks on the door. An old woman answers with a candle. Arcadia introduces herself and says that they have urgent business with a patient, and Trist pipes up and says that it's an emergency. The woman asks who, and Trist says, Hallis. Inside check from Trist for 21, and the woman says the name is familiar, but he was moved away from here long ago. The players can still see the golden thread going inside the hospital. Milo gets angry at this point, and Aiden says that he knows it's late, but they must talk to him. The woman says that he's no longer here, good night, and goes to close the door. Trist says She knows that he's here and they need to speak with him. It is very much okay for her to do so. Persuasion check of 25, and the woman asks if she's a doctor. Trish says, in a way. The old lady asks if they know Archmage Previn. Arcadia says they do, and the woman lets them in. They step into the hospital and see that the inside is very much not like the outside. It's very clear that there is magic within the halls of this hospital, with magic beds pumping people's lungs. And in some instances, like other healing assortments. The woman says that she is glad that they came. She knows that the Archmage has been reaching out to others. She knows the gods have been gone for some time and has heard that the calamity might be ending soon. She's hoping that they might be sealed away again, but who knows. She brings them to the boy, Hollis. He is much skinnier than what they saw in the vision. He has a line going to his nose and an arcane orb next to him covering him with different lights in a different sequence of colors. The woman asks if his mother, Cassidia, is on her way here. Trish says that she's not sure and asks if they can get a word to her. The woman grabs an emblem and spins a ring on it, and a light goes off into the distance. Trish asks what he has, and the woman says that he has gray gills wasting, a degenerative disease. They haven't been able to do anything but buy time. Suddenly there's a bright light in the room, and the Archmage appears. She asks who they are, and she gets ready to cast something. The air is now tense. Trish says that she asked for help, and Cassadia freaks out and asks why Arcadia is here, and says that she's calling the guards. Trish pulls out the book, and Cassadia asks where she got that from. Trish says that she won't understand, but they're here to help her. Aiden says, like they said, she called for their help. Cassadia looks at her son and grabs a holy symbol of the Everlight from underneath his pillow. The doctor bows her head and then asks if she sent them. Trish says yes. Father Milo looks sick in this moment as he sees other people who are now honoring her and asks if he can help out the others in this place, and the doctor says yes, and Aiden goes with them. Aiden is going to make sure Milo doesn't do anything fucked up. Trish is alone with Cassadia. Arcadia stays there as well, so she's not alone with her. Silly. She says the doctor have done all they can, and she has spent all the money that she can already without being seen. She knows. She asks how she knows Arcadia, but then asks what Trist needs for her help so that she can help her son. Trist says that she needs nothing. Her faith brought them here. Tristan lays her hands on the child and begins to use lay on hands to try to remove the disease. But she thinks back to the last time she used this gift on the King of Hells and how it left a part of her shattered. Cassadia is holding the symbol of the Everlight, and Trist forgot how to use this power, but if this is the last thing she does for these people, she wants to try. The light fills the hallway and Arcadia watches to take in as much light as she can. Cassadia gasps as she realizes that she didn't send someone, she is in fact here. The boy then takes a breath in and then begins to cough. He looks up to his mom and she grabs him and begins to cry. There's still light in the air. Trish can feel in the air the disease is let go. Hala says that he's very hungry, and Cassadia looks at her and asks how she's here. Trish says that she needs her help. Cassadia says that she'll do anything. Over with Aiden and Milo. They're walking away. Milo looks at him. Milo thinks that this will be over tonight. There's been decades of truce. It would be a shame for it to go away. He asks what Aiden thinks will happen after Aor. Aiden says that they'll find out. He believes that the threat they face is an opportunity, but they're the ones who must come to the table, meaning the betrayer gods. Milo says that they aren't real. He then touches the doctor's head, and she starts to move around like a puppet. He says they're playthings. Milo looks to Aiden and says, how many times are you going to say family today? Family means us. They were the ones who left the table. Milo then snaps the doctor's wrists, and Aiden casts protection from good and evil, and the magic on her is dispelled. Aiden says that in which they created now exists. Just because they made it doesn't mean they can destroy it. They are the ones that must light their path, not erase it. Milo can't wait to see what he really believes, and Aiden says that he may not be his father, but he is here, and they were once young together, and his jealousy and rage hurts them all. Milo laughed at him for supporting her that day, but there was never a braver moment than when she went to him and tried to help. Aiden knew what he would do, but she must try anyway. Aiden won't abandon her now, just like he wished they hadn't abandoned him, like he abandoned them back then. Milo says there's nothing for him here, and he goes outside. Aiden says to the doctor, or Aiden looks at the doctor and asks if there's anyone more sick and injured. She leads him to another wing that has a bunch of people in it, and he walks through it and channels a divine energy through it, healing people for 15 HP. A light fills this room as well, and he heals who he can. He thinks there has to be some sort of way to fix all this. Aiden says, Father, he seeks to provoke you even now. Just as you sent me to help her, let me be that hope and let me be a new dawn. No word comes back to him. He sees a vision of a young boy healing people. He sees a vision of impossible engines of destruction and wicked men bound to demons with hatred for the gods. He sees Exandria with small pockets of survivors in the storm, and he sees the vastness of the world and feels its sorrow. Back in the room with Trist, Cassadia says that she's very grateful, and she had to keep this secret, all of what she's done here. Trist takes her hand and says that this is all amazing, and she's very much filled with love. Cassadia asks how she got to the city, and Trist says that they've been here for a while. Cassadia realizes the gods haven't been seen in decades, and she asks if they knew. Trist says yes. Cassadia says, what's 30 years of a mortal life for them? Trist says, those years were actually quite wonderful. Cassadia asks if Trist knows what she's been doing specifically, and Trist says no. Cassadia says that she's been brought into the heart of the magistrate, and they have been developing something for some time, but they don't know what she specifically has been doing to it. She says that it is near completion and they will be testing it tomorrow. She's helping make the Factorum Malleus. Trist says that's why she's here, and Cassadia asks if she fears it. Trist doesn't say, and Cassadia says that she understands. She knows that there are proud mages here in Aor, and in the wrong hands the weapon would be terrifying. But she's part of a group known as the Society of the Primes, and they've placed blocks in the weapon and can try to help them win the war. She wants to help them end the war against the Betrayer gods, and they can finally join and stand side by side with the gods. We then go back to Asha and the emissary. They exit the tram in a military square. They see gray buildings of Aor, and it's very depressing. And here the emissary sees an image of mages holding the scales at a courthouse. At the edge of the square is a small tree planted in the ground. There's nothing else like it here. They're at the top part of this part of the city, and they know the real stuff is going to be deep below them. They can see an onyx pinnacle, a glassy jet-black volcanic stone floating in the air. They can feel the pulsing ripples coming from it. The ripples that help hide the city from the divine sight. There's a building at the base of it that is very well guarded. They are still invisible. Asha takes in the space looking for any signs of what the tree is. She walks up to it and it's a fruit tree. A gift from the Golden Scythe. A gift from another floating island, or floating city. A bird wakes up on the tree and it bows its head to her. She asks if it's alone, and it says, yes, there used to be more trees, but there's very little now, and there isn't very much food as people don't drop any. Asha asks if there are any more trees, and the bird says a few, but there's more demons and engines and other stuff like that now. Asha looks around for people watching, perception check of 25. She sees that no one is watching them. She does, however, see the tram leave, and a ship flies over top of it, and a light comes off of that, which seems to be some sort of sea invisibility dispelling light. They know they shouldn't cause much of a ruckus. Asha grabs an apple core in her pocket and squeezes it, until there's not much left of it. She also creates maggots and then drops them both into the nest and some maggots on the ground. The birds call out to other birds, and they all begin to feed. It's probably the best meal they've had in ages. She drops some of the maggots into the soil, and the tree comes to life. The tree looks at her and says, Mother. Asha asks how deep its roots are, and the tree simply says, deeper than they think. They think they make walls, but they only make nests. It has seen more than any other small tree should have, and Asha says, they'll know how little of you it takes to break a wall. The birds begin to sing. It's not only humans that worship. The ground begins to break, As the roots pull the ground apart near the onyx, a large enough space is now open for them to slip inside. Asha says they'll hear from her again and tell her all that, and to tell all that matter that something is happening. The birds begin to fly off. She can feel that life is unending in this place. There are rats and vermin all over Aor. Asha then goes into the opening, and Zarhust follows. Tashar asks the emissary if she'll take up the rear, and the emissary turns to the tree. The emissary holds up his seed and looks at it. He says that she bares her teeth, but he knows what the mother sees in her. Tashar says, I hate being on the team with a couple, and then walks in and the emissary follows after. They move through the space and watch the roots rip open the ground, making a path for them. Eventually they reach a metal pipe, and Asha's vision gets all hazy. She can feel that they are near the center of the powerful presence, but she doesn't understand it. Tashar says it is what troubles them. There's nothing more beautiful than to destroy what we do not understand. Tashar then cuts open the pipe and makes a hole for them, and we go back to the Ars Elysia. Salaha and Amira walk up to the door, and it opens up into a hidden chamber. Hovering in this chamber is the planetar. He asks how they did this and who does he behold. Amir asks who sent him. The planetar says no one. Those above him toss their command aside, and they toss their ideals and values aside. He followed his commander, the Solar Castriel, I'm probably saying that wrong, one of the Dawnfaller's lieutenants. The planetar is named Gratharan. Salaha asks why he's here, and he says that they've taken their mortal forms, and he says that the rules don't apply to them, do they? Salaha says he's getting angry at this point. The planetar says that he's been angry for years. The world is being destroyed, and many are dead for those who can't die and won't kill each other. He asks what called for a truce with and as he tries to say betrayers, he can't. He asks what they thought would happen after the threat to the gods, and the gods alone was destroyed. He finds them sickening, and fire begins to move around his eyes. Amira says that he speaks of what he doesn't understand, and he says that he's a construct, only a real one. Salaha goes to embrace him, and he tries to pull the fire away with a charisma check of 9, so it doesn't quite work. He tries to, but the planetar yells at him to not take away what is his. Garethran says that they made him to be good, and to seal the betrayer gods has been fighting for a century, only to be told to stop and to learn what they were doing. It's only a squabble to the gods and a war to the rest of them. Why didn't they leave when they knew that they were hurting the world? Salaha says that he's been caught in something that is difficult, and he can see his pain. Even he asks why they are doing this. Why are they in this endless argument? But there's a beauty in not understanding. They just play their roles. Ignorance is bliss. But this threat will soon threaten all of them, and there will be no end to it. With the gods, there is at least a bit of control. Salaha asks him what he knows of the weapon and promises to give him purpose back. Garatharan says, if you want us to serve the gods, you shouldn't have made us good, and then takes his weapon and cuts his throat open, and he dies. However, Amira casts Speak with Dead. Garatharan finds himself in darkness. He sees a towering woman standing near him. She is wearing a white mask with black robes, and golden threads going all over the place forever from her fingertips. She touches his face. He asks if she thinks she doesn't understand sorrow of responsibility. Garatharan says that he didn't know. Raven's feathers fall all around him. He says he believed he was right, but now he's scared. He says he doesn't know what happens to them when they die. The Raven Queen says peace. She asks where his commander is, and he says he is hidden in a passage for artificers to maintain the engines, near the base of Aor. Only reachable through these passages. It's impossible for them to get there without the passwords that change every day. There's a dragon in their service. Aarto, a shadow dragon of death, great, And there's also devils, fae, and fiends that in the past few years have put their bets on mortals. A Castriel has delivered information on the plan that was kept secret from most, but he somehow came across by talking to the remaining gods. He somehow gleaned the information from them. He believes they know the gods are in mortal forms, and the Raven Queen asks if that information has been given out yet. He says that his commander left with those to take him there about 20 minutes before they arrived. He mentions something about a scribe below the Tenebrator, an Aeorian meant to copy everything down. Arcana check 27 from the Raven Queen. In this moment, the Raven Queen puts it together that the greed is Aeor's weakness. There has to be a place that it's all kept before it is sent out to the 24 points of the Aravox protocol. This scribe must be the bottleneck. The Raven Queen tells him to not be scared, and she doesn't judge him for his choices. He asks what is going to happen to him, and she says that he will find out, and he is pushed away into the darkness. Amira then comes to, and then tells Salaha what she knows, and then tries to broadcast it to everyone else. We then go back to Asha and the emissary. Brennan grabs the map and tells everyone to roll initiative. The emissary rolls a 24, Salaha rolls a 22, Amira a 15, Trist a 12, Asha a 6, and Aiden a 6. The pipe that that Asha and the emissary are walking in burst. Asha and the emissary, Trishar and Zarhust, leap out and find themselves in front of two constructs that stand before them, in front of what looks to be some sort of engine. The emissary lands in front of one of these constructs and can see an archmage who is quite scared. He makes some of the ice around him spin, and he then dashes up towards the mage. The construct swings for him but misses its attack. The emissary is now on the mage. He takes his seed and turns it into two massive axes and a chain binding them together. He attacks the mage and hits and deals 11 damage, and the mage is pulled in by the chains. The mage is now being chewed up by the ice that is spinning for 12 more damage, and because the mage tried to cast a shield spell that failed and didn't really help, he is able to use Mage Slayer to attack again for 12 more damage. Salaha is now up, and Amira is alongside him, because that is what the turn order is, so they go together. They can feel that there is fighting going on. They also know that the scribe is underneath the engine room in which that group is fighting. Amira uses Dearest, with the aid of Asha's new bird friends, to find the hole that they went through so that she can cast Arcane Gate through the eyes of Dearest and open a way into the engine room. Amira and Salaha enter the room, and Salaha cast Dimension Door using Quicken Spell, and they go underneath the engine together. They see the Aeoriton that is constantly writing down paper and is constantly adding more paper to that paper. He then absorbs the knowledge from the Aeoriton. I don't know what ability this is, but it just happens. And he needs to make a wisdom save to be able to successfully absorb said energy. He makes a 22, and he successfully absorbs the knowledge that was within the Aeoriton. And now within him is a poem so beautiful that it can convince reality to kill a god. Does that not make him the weapon they fear? Like something about that just seems weird to me. Zarhust is now up, and he walks into the room, and he casts Silence on it. Both the constructs try to counterspell, but they both fail. The mage is up and can't really cast much spells because they're in the silence. So what they do is they try to break free of the grasp from the emissary. And somehow, some way, this mage successfully breaks free. He then rolls higher than the emissary and moves out of the range of silence and casts Misty Step and vanishes. Trist and Aiden are up. They meet up again with Milo, who then joins them because he can hear the broadcast as well. Arcadia says that she can't take them there as she's never been there. Cassadia says, where are they trying to go? And they tell her the Tenebrator. She says, well, it's time to go full trader and cast teleport on the entire group and takes them all to the engine room. Trist takes in the room for a second and asks what they're doing, and Asha says to try to find the mage. Trist casts Guiding Bolt on the engine, dealing 36 damage because it was a crit. She then grabs a slingshot that Topher, her son, snuck into her pocket, and casts a Blinding Smite on the slingshot. One of the constructs then charge Trist, and smacks her for 44 goddamn damage with like one swing, those nuts. The other construct then goes over and crits on Zarhust for a lot of damage as well. We don't quite know. However, Zarhust keeps his silence up. Asha is up and she jumps onto the emissary's back and then pulls out a blade from his ice that looks slightly rusted because it's been left alone. And then grabs some wood from the chain that he used and makes a spear out of it. A very abstract idea, but I'm into it. Perception check of 19. She then sees bubbles in the water behind them, likely where the mage is hiding. She then jumps off and attacks at the mage. She hits with a 24, dealing 12 damage and 7 poison damage. She also uses Stunning Strike to stun the mage. She then attacks again, dealing 14 more damage. She then spends a key point to use Flurry of Blows, hitting once more with 12 more damage, killing the mage. However, the way that it is described that she killed the mage is she ripped out its throat by biting it. Vicious. This is a vicious wolf, I swear to God. Tishar is up. She swings her sword and attacks the engine, dealing 38 damage to it. Aiden is up, and he makes his staff glow, and he points to the engine and casts Guiding Bolt on it as well for 30 more damage. Sorry, hitting for 30, dealing 20 damage. He then uses his bonus action to grant Tishar another attack. She swings and smashes the engine. The pinnacle above them begins to shake. The engine then dies, and the constructs all die. They all start to meet in the engine room again. They can all hear above them that the wind picks up and the storm is starting. They all flee through the arcane gate, and that's still there. Luckily, it's still there for them. And they all make their way into the Ars Elysia. They all step out and the gate closes. Behind them, a bunch of mages then enter the engine room via teleportation, wondering what just happened here. And this is where the episode ends. So there you have it, episode 100 of Campaign 3 of Critical Role. I feel like I didn't mention like how important 100 episodes of this is, but it is really cool. Like, I've been doing these for 100 episodes, and a bunch of you have been listening for 100 episodes, so I appreciate that. That's really cool. But anyway, this was a very good episode. I don't think this episode was as good as the first, but this is obviously like the transitional episode between the two where they have to like sort of somehow get their way into like the final fight. So this one is understandable the way that it went. There were a few moments that I'm like, that's kind of, that's kind of an ass pull, especially with Dearest. The whole thing with Dearest finding, like, in a single turn, by the way, Dearest went up to another level of Aor, talked to the birds, flew down through this long tunnel that was made by the tree, and then was able to, like, open up a portal. I don't know how fast Dearest can move, but if it's like any other familiar, that seems insane. But they're gods, so I'm kind of, like, letting it go. Something that I didn't mention, like, throughout this, because it was kind of hard to figure out how to mention it, there were certain moments throughout the episode where, like, certain characters would do things, and they would take their godly forms. And I think that is a badass idea. I think that is such a cool idea. I don't know if everyone got to do it in this episode. I think the only one who wouldn't be able to is the emissary, and I think everyone else did it. Like, Salaha did it when he made the door shift reality a little bit. Amira did it when she, like, had, like, the speak with dead sort of spell moment where she was appearing as if the Raven Queen was there. That one we all know really well. Asha had her moment when she was talking to, like, the tree and told the tree to, like, open up the ground and make a tunnel for them. Trist and Aiden both had their moment where they took their divine forms, and it was when they were, like, healing people, and I loved it. The images that they were popping up were really badass and really cool. It kind of sucks that the emissary likely won't have something like this, because if he did, I would probably make a thumbnail for it and, like, make that the new thumbnail. But unfortunately, they didn't have any art for him. So everyone else had a piece of art. He didn't. So I'm hoping he gets one, and maybe for, like, next episode, that'll be, like, the thumbnail where I have all of their faces, much like you see on this one, and then they're all in their godly forms. But we haven't seen all of them yet, so I don't want to quite do that to the emissary. That doesn't feel fair. So yeah, but I just wanted to point that out. I didn't get to really say it there in the moment because it was kind of hard to, like, figure out how to say it without being, like, a weird break in the flow of things. But I did want to point that out. But overall, I did enjoy this episode. We definitely got confirmed who some of the betrayer gods are. It's 100% at this point that Milo is Asmodeus. I know a lot of people were, like, already like, oh, it's already 100% confirmed. It wasn't. Okay, it wasn't 100% confirmed. There was still some speculation to be had, and I will die on that hill. There was some mild speculation. Umletta is definitely Lolth, especially with, like, the whole, like, silk thread web line. Definitely Lolth. And then Zarhust, who hasn't been like confirmed, but realistically, Torog, the god of fucking torture, is almost guaranteed to be who he is. So that's not a stretch. The only one that's kind of still up in the air is Cheshire, who could either be Grumsh or Bane. And I think a lot of people are sort of stuck between those two. I'm not too sure who it is. And like, it was almost confirmed by Aiden, like with the whole like Aiden remembers being on the ship with this person. Unfortunately, we never got confirmed who Shasti was before they became a god. Like when they became a god, we just knew that they suddenly had flesh. So we had no idea who they became in that moment. So realistically, we know that Cheshire is Shasti, but we don't know who Shasti is, if that makes sense. So who knows? I don't know. Just putting that out there in the world. I enjoyed this episode. Thought it was great. I very much enjoyed the concepts of them being able to like warp reality when they are in their godly forms and when they're in a place of worship. I think that's a badass idea, and I definitely can see it being played into like the final fight. One thing I did want to like mention, the battle map they pulled out with all the minis, they don't have minis for these characters yet, which tells me one thing. They only have minis for their godly forms, which I think is going to be really badass and really cool looking when we finally get to see those minis. But who knows? Maybe they just didn't have them yet. I don't know. But anyway, that is going to be the whole recap for me today, and I will see you guys on Tuesday for whatever video I make next. Peace.